Candy Finnegan from the Emmy Award-winning television show Intervention. Candy and Dr. Linda are two gals who know recovery because they are in recovery. Listen as they help you bring your recovery to the next level, help you solve your thorniest issues in ways you may have never imagined. Together, they bring you the tools and techniques that bring balance, serenity, and recovery to your life, and the tools you need to find solutions for healing from the disease of addiction. Candy teams up with Dr. Linda to share their over 60 years of combined experience dealing with all areas of recovery. In her decades as a metaphysical clinician, Dr. Linda has helped thousands of people worldwide solve problems on the air and in person with her insights and solutions. So pull up a chair, turn it up, and get ready for a visit on the path to recovery with the one and only Dr. Linda. And now, live from Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Linda Salvin and Candy Finnegan.
Hi, everybody. Well, welcome back to another Recovery Wednesday. Hi, Candy, with that beautiful introduction by our friend Fred. And as we spoke yesterday, the graphics are done by our friend Dave, who was on the show. I think it's a pretty cool introduction as to who we are, what we do, why we're here, and how we can help you. Before I get going, and we're going to be talking about how to participate in your own recovery, I am going to be out of town during just before Christmas, so we may have a replay, or unless Candy wants to do the show by herself, because I'll be on the East Coast and I don't know if I'll be available at 4 p.m. Eastern to do the show. So I won't know until I'm there, or we may play something if there's a show that you really like that we've done, or Candy can handle it by herself. Whatever you want to do, we'll figure it out. But we are coming into the holidays, and I'm taking a vacation. Long overdue. How are you?
How dare you?
Yeah, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave you for a week.
During my most stressful time.
It is. But I'll be back for Christmas. I'm coming back Christmas Eve.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'll be back for Christmas Day and New Year's and all that. But I just need this, and then I'll go to play. I thought I got
away when I went to San Francisco.
Yeah, but look what happened. You drove, 9 hours?
To get there. 7.5 hours back.
That's exhausting. People think, we're going on a road trip, and half your vacation just is work and energy, and you're exhausted.
Well, there was such a horrible car accident.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I've never sat in a car with 4,000 other people. 40,000 other people, probably. 27-mile backup for
yeah, and you were so afraid it might have snowed over the grapevine. And instead of the snow, you had the accident. There's always something going on.
Snow would look pretty darn good.
Yeah, in comparison. Country, come back for a second. I want to acknowledge you. Yesterday, yes, vacations can be good. I will have fun. I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. I want to see the monuments. I'm going to go to some of the art exhibits in Jefferson Library.
Go see if you can see the White House all decorated.
She did a
fabulous job. She didn't do like a bright red.
No, I'll just be outside. I have a Capitol tour. I don't have a White House tour. Those are booked, but at least I'll get to finally see it. You know, if the country implodes, at least I'll say I was there. What?
I forgot you hadn't been there.
I've never been. I was there once in 1976 with my boyfriend, but we drove from Virginia to Virginia Beach up to Ocean City and up to DC. But by the time we got there, the fireworks had ended. We were a little late. So I walked through Georgetown, but I really want to just experience it. Country, come back for a second. I want to acknowledge you. And I understand when you say you're trying to get people to listen. I didn't understand that Country is a store. So talk about the store. Text us a little bit about your store. And I understand you're trying to encourage your patrons who come into the store to listen to Candy and me, or if I'm doing the Tuesday, Thursday shows. I'm flattered that that's why you keep popping up, because you really enjoy what I'm doing with my 3 broadcasts, and you're trying to get your customers and patrons to catch on and join us. So thank you. And yesterday, what I know happened was I had a troll who was soliciting you and Misty and a few of the other people who were regulars to the program, as she was soliciting psychic work And I have a feeling you didn't buy into it. And oh, hi, Carolyn. Yeah, I'll be there. I was going to tell you later. Maybe you can still take the train up for one day. This woman who was soliciting readings by giving everybody readings through text that I couldn't see. I was told by the producer, we're going to try to block all these people. And I appreciate your loyalty by not buying into their BS, because even when I saw the reading she gave for me, it wasn't quite as accurate as it could have been, but she's using my platform to get to my audience. And that's not cool. It's not like BMW is going after all the Mercedes owners. So it's just the way it works. I've gone through this for many, many years. Candy knows. I mean, I've been on radio 30 years and I've had other psychics try to take my audience and whatever, but now we're getting it on the text message. So Wonderful Rebel explained everything. So Rebel's now going to be the mean person that gets to block them if she can.
Yeah, she's gonna be meanie.
She'll be mean. She can block all these trollers. Yeah, she came on and says, you got a troller. I said, what do you mean? She showed me the clip of the text. But just so that you out there, if you're starting to get hit online by other psychics, kindly say no, you're dedicated to me. If you want to read healing or channeling session, you know where to find me at lindasalvin.com. We're in Gulfport, your shows, and we like to get the word out. We will fall for the bad people on the internet. We make sure everyone knows to stay true to you and your show. Thank you so much. I love that. And
let me ask something. Where are you in Mississippi?
Gulfport,
Mississippi. Oh, I have a really close friend there in Biloxi.
I was in Biloxi. Is that close? Is Gulfport close to Biloxi? It's a long ride from the airport, how much I remember. Anyway, we're here today to talk about how to participate in your own recovery. I did a show similar to it on my own a couple months ago. That is the city next to us, Biloxi. Okay, so I know about where you are. Was there at the casinos. A friend of mine was performing. What are we looking at? 2010, maybe. I was there, so it's 13 years ago. Good old Bill. And I went to see
Bill.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not go there. But what I did find out, finally, we have a call-in number. I am used to talk radio because I am old school, pre-internet, doing talk radio. I'm going to start putting out the number, not today, but there'll be a time where you can call in and ask Candy and me your questions about recovery, or on my shows about psychic stuff, or the musicians who are playing, or whoever I'm interviewing. You'll be able to talk on air. Finally going to do that. I think it'll bump up the shows because I'm a talker. I'm not just podcasting with information. We like to have fun. So I'm going to get you guys more involved on the phone. Don't be shy. It's just talking to Candy, me, or whoever. So Candy, your daughter was in town. We had dinner the other night, and she's doing great. And then you've been all over the place as a crazy lady, like always. Did you get all your holiday decorations down from the? You didn't. So we need to get country out here.
Just as that was supposed to happen.
We need to get country out here to climb that ladder for you.
Yeah, well, I think I have somebody in mind, but yeah, I gotta get rid of those pumpkins. They're driving me crazy. No, I want to put Santa hats on them.
Yeah, it's time for Santa.
Yeah. No, because when Bridget stayed over on Monday is when her friend got in that horrible car accident. So
you want to talk about that? It is horrible. A friend of Candy's daughter that they've known for 20 plus years.
Oh yeah, very long time.
Whose name is also Bridget, was in a horrible accident. She's brain dead. And it looks like they're going to be.
They did already.
Oh, they did? They pulled the plug today already since I talked to you an hour ago?
Bridget's at work. My Bridget's at work. So this is when she can communicate. But they both had a very close friend that lived in New York. And, I had a serious talk with him because we weren't in bed with it. She had to get a criminal defense attorney, but family couldn't afford it. So we got a public defender, and her mother flew in to Nashville from Ventura. And
oh, so sad.
Oh, you have this girl lit up a room when she walked in. She was spectacular. She was a little actress, and And my daughter met her on a MasterCard commercial. And they were the big and small. They look kind of similar. And she was 5'2", my daughter's almost 5'10". So they were the little smalls. And they hooked up, and they have never, ever not been very closely connected. So,
Well, Bee's the type of girl, your daughter, who meets somebody and usually holds on forever. Or like at dinner the other night, found out she had run into somebody she knew in nursery school, preschool. I'm like, how did you even recognize this person? I was shocked when she said she knew somebody from nursery school. I'm like, what? I wouldn't even remember half the people I went to college with or high school.
well, it was funny because we were at this, I guess, kind of a home craft fair type of thing.
Yeah.
And she was outside just, and I thought, you wanted to come here, get in here. You know, I didn't know anybody. I didn't think, well, I ended up I knew people, but, and she comes in, and this little girl comes in. Well, they're in their 40s now. So they're my little girls, but they're not. And she goes, your daughter sat next to me in preschool. And I
would never, ever think like that.
In a little tiny preschool in Laurel Canyon. And I said, how did that come about? And she said, oh, she recognized me. And so then my daughter gets out her phone and starts going, 90 miles an hour. And there they are. There's a picture of them in graduation from preschool. I thought, good God, Bridget.
Wow.
You and elephants, right?
That is funny. That is funny. So now that we've got some of the details of our lives out of the way, how do people participate in their recovery? What does that mean? Candy, why don't you explain what it means? I've discussed it, but let's hear it from you.
Well, the thing that is, I guess, taught to you, or it used to be. Gosh, I should say used to be, because I'm not sure what's going on out there. But that I was a wife, I was a mother, I was a daughter, I was a friend, and all of that stuff and those relationships would have gone away. My marriage, my mother-in-law, most likely, being a social worker, would have taken my kids away from me eventually. But that recovery has to come first. And I was incensed by that because my kids always had to come first. They were little, they were tiny, they were 3 and 6. And so, I have to take care of them before my recovery. Well, I was told that I wouldn't have those kids if my recovery didn't come first. And so I got it. I had to make it a priority, whether I wanted to or not. So I'd take my kids to school, then I'd go to a 9 o'clock meeting, and then I'd maybe go to a noon meeting, and then I'd pick them up from school. And I ended up having, as you well know, a meeting in my house of women and children. They could bring their kids, and we had babysitters, because I wanted my children to know when I left and I said I'm going to a meeting that I wasn't meeting a banker. Because for, some musical thing that my husband did. So, I think that I'd like to call it your priority. Your priorities have to change when you get in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but you can't put it second, you can't put it fourth. And I didn't understand why, to be honest with you, but I certainly do now, years later, as you do. And the people that have stayed sober around the time that we both got sober in the middle 80s, you saw them last night when you went to hear somebody speak. These people have long-term sobriety.
33 years with one,
40 years,
20,
and a couple 50. And so they've made their priority. When I got sober, I thought, oh, these poor souls, they don't have a life. They're still sitting in there. What the matter with them? Get a life. And then I realized it was my life, and it better become one. So,
and that's what they talked about last night, how most of your friends don't drink or use anymore, that they're friends who are sober. Yeah. And like the secretary last night said, because he knows I have 38 years, he said, Linda, what's this? Your 30th Christmas without drinking? And then when we did the Lord's Prayer at the end, he goes, it's actually 39 years, because even though I got sober in October, this is now my 39th go around. So he was talking to the newcomer, and what a newcomer is somebody with less than 30 days, less than a year. Some of the people
less
that are
than a
still
year,
struggling.
I think it's what it used to be with us, less than a year.
Yeah, but there were people last night that had 5 days, 14 days, 23 days. It's all brand new, overwhelming, and we got to share that we all were there at one point. We all had one day. We all had 4 days. We all ran away many times out of fear, or can't do it, or it's overwhelming. But then to participate in your own recovery is to show up at a meeting, to eventually take direction from a sponsor, which is a person that has more time than you, that can direct you through the 12 steps, or maybe give you some guidance on how to make a decision toward a problem in your life. Or you get to talk it through with somebody. I have a resentment that popped up last night because of somebody that was there that brought up an old feeling of something I thought I dealt with, but it got triggered. And I think we're all that way. Something will always trigger an emotion or a memory. That's being human. But this is bothering me. And if I keep running into this person and I still have that emotional thing, I need to clean it up. Just like the speaker was saying, he had held on to something for about 28 years where he felt like he was slighted, and he finally confronted his previous boss, who had no idea. He goes, how did you hold on to that for 28 years? Well, he did, and they apologized. Now they're good friends. He got what he needed. And, people don't know what you feel, think, or need until you talk. You got to open up.
Well, when we get sober, we kind of think we're mind readers. And we're not.
Yeah, but we're not mind readers. And everybody's got pain, resentment, fear, anxiety.
And this time of year,
it's big.
Anxiety, because you have to do life on life's terms, but there's so much drinking and getting high. My husband always used to call it amateur hour, because they're doing what we did every day. So, I know a lot of people don't understand AA and any type of support that you have, whether it's your church or a support group that is dedicated to alcoholism and addiction. But I have to tell you something. I thought it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. The first meeting I walked into, I thought, I'm going to sit around and listen to these people that talk about what they did and I wasn't one bit interested. To be perfectly honest, back then, you could not say you were an alcoholic and an addict. You had to just be an alcoholic in AA. Well, that's all done with. But I thought, well, I didn't do half the shit that they did. So that proves to me that I'm not, it's like I could have talked my way out of that room in a minute. If it hadn't been for some people that reached out and said, stay a while, because nobody else really at that point in my life understood why I couldn't stop drinking.
Or
because
what you were feeling, right?
A lot of, I give myself a lot of power. I give myself a lot of confidence that I can do anything if I set my mind to it. Could not stop drinking. And I had to have help. And I got the help and support there.
We just had a question from Misty about how getting sober affected your children.
Well, Misty, at first, my children had never heard the word alcoholic. And so my kids thought that alcoholic was when you didn't drink, because they would hear me say, hi, I'm Candy Alcoholic. And they thought that was, a person that didn't drink. I really was such a secretive drinker. They would see me drink, but they didn't see me drink. My daughter caught on before my son was only 3.5. So, but it's like they are both very successful in their own right, in their own things. Neither one of them, I'm knocking on wood, I'm Irish, are in my support group. but my kids are educated. My son had a 85% chance of being an alcoholic or an addict because that's the percentage when both your parents are. And my husband was in recovery, and I think my daughters would be about 62. But that's the reason that I introduced them to a sober life. And they really didn't understand. They knew their dad drank a lot because he was not sneaky like I was. I tried not to drink at least until 5 o'clock at night, sometimes more successfully than others. But they honor it, they understand it. And then that all kind of blew up when I got on this TV show. My son will not walk down the street with me because people think I'm taking him to treatment. So, so he's getting
People
a
may
little
not know what TV show you're referring to. Why don't you tell them which show?
A&E's Intervention. That's still
It's
on.
a fabulous, yes, it's still on, but you should archive or go back through some of the older shows where Candy was on week after week after week. I mean, some of the stories and the people and the places you were to help people, they flew you everywhere to some of the most bizarre situations. I remember that one that was hooked on aerosol or whatever it was.
It was computer cleaner.
Computer cleaner. And she constantly had to have a bottle or a can.
The compression on that is nitrous oxide. That's what she was hooked on. And the same thing with an empty whipped cream bottle.
Yeah, the air and what comes through. Yeah, sucking it all in.
And
people will do anything to get high.
Do I know why I drank? Yes, I do. I do know why I drank. I drank because, as I have learned, not only from being highly educated in this field, but I was intensely lonely. My husband would go out on tour, and I had a few friends, but most of the people that we ran around with didn't have kids. And a great deal of the guys weren't even married or had been for 5 minutes. But, it was one of those things where I didn't know how to mother. I'd grown up and had nannies and had a wonderful mother, but to a point. But I can't say that I can say my parents raised me, but the menial things of food, feeding me and all the rest of that stuff came to people that
providing, but the emotional stuff wasn't always there.
And they were both there for me emotionally. But I think because I'm adopted, that there was a great part of it must have been genetic. Mm-hmm. And I didn't hardly drink until after my kids were born, and after Bridget was born, and I was faced with some physical difficulties of hers. I just didn't know how to soothe my weary soul, and I turned to alcohol. And I had it under control for maybe a couple of years. And then when my son was born, all hell broke loose. And I guess because I'm Irish, I could hold a lot of nothing like Mike.
No, that's not true. I could hold a lot too. My story is totally different. It's not about holding the alcohol.
Yeah, I wasn't going out with my husband. I claimed I wasn't driving drunk, but if you go to bed at 12:30 and get up at 6 to take your kids to school, you got
hangover. Still in your bloodstream.
I didn't have hangovers until I started drinking wine. And it was the sugar that was giving me the hangover.
Well, that's where I always got in trouble, was the sugar. Everybody's different.
I drank is because I self-medicated myself.
Like most people.
I mean, don't think I didn't enjoy it, because I loved drinking. And smoking pot.
And I did all that in college. I was more into the activities and the socialization and meeting guys and partying, but
none of that. There was none of that available to me.
Yeah, well, you were different. I'm just showing my experience is different from your experience, so people know no two are ever alike. Not everybody.
I sure would have.
There's a lot of people out there that identify with you as a mom. There's a lot of people that identify with me as a single, and we have different responsibilities or different reasons as to what started. I wanted to keep up with the Joneses per se. I wanted to be in the cool crowd.
Yeah, well, you were in a cool crowd, by the way. I went to a girls' Catholic convent high school,
That's
And
true.
I got more trouble for smoking in my uniform than probably anybody in school, because that was a big no-no. But if I would have had the opportunity to get high in high school, Lord have mercy. Oh my, I mean, I'd have been the one that had it, and then you could share it with me. So I'm very aware of that um, once I understood what getting high was. Um, Kansas was a dry state. All they had was 3-2 beer. And boy, if you can drink 2 or 3 different pitchers of that, all you do is end up in the bathroom all the time. So, I started when I went to college, I started going to Missouri a lot because it wasn't a dry state. Um, my mother didn't drink as of her 40th birthday because she heard it aged her. She was rather narcissistic. And my father was a powerhouse drinker. He was in the oil business, and he had 2 triples at 5 o'clock every night or after a game of golf, and then he never had another drink. So that day, I'd say he drank 5 out of 7 nights, but I never saw him drunk. I saw him in complete control.
Well,
And so,
that's also being a periodic, and not everybody's fallen down drunk. That's where you got
Oh,
the
no.
misconceptions that you can have one drink and be out to lunch. You can drink a fifth or a whole bottle before you even start to feel things. Everybody's resistance and tolerance is different as to how you function, how you get on. I was a periodic, and I was definitely, I could go days and weeks without a drink. And then if I did on a Thursday or a Saturday, which was cool in college, or one time, a couple times drinking with my boss with my first job out of college, everybody from the plant went across the street to this little pool bar, for food and drinks. And that's where I started realizing, like, is this how I want? It wasn't just the cool looking bars and restaurants in Hollywood or Beverly Hills. I mean, this was out in Pomona, which is nothing. It was just a bar with a aerospace plant across the street when I started doing industrial
boy, I bet
hygiene.
those guys powerhoused it.
Those guys were big drinkers. And that was when they also started, because I remember I was in the health and safety department putting together the industrial hygiene program. And I remember that's when they started the assistance programs for the alcoholics and the families for the corporate people and the unions. And that's when all that was just starting in the 70s, that they were able to help people with drinking and drug problems. I remember giving some seminars to the employees. And to be honest, there was a time I was in front of, I don't know, about 40, 50 managers and everything. But by telling my story and discussing alcoholic behavior, it pushed my button. I realized maybe I am. It was like I was teaching and presenting, but then I felt the identification. It was kind of strange. You're there. That's the emotional aspect that you identify when you hear something. So here I was, like, supposedly the health educator of the plant and the industrial hygienist, but I saw my own issue. And I wasn't ready at that time. It was a few years later that I actually got sober, but it was the beginning of the awareness, like something may be wrong with me. And I didn't know it, because we could all look it on paper and go through school and do what you have, but it didn't hit me for quite a while.
I've been asked, and I was asked by my own mother, if my husband hadn't been in the profession that he was in, did I think that I would become an alcoholic? And I had to say, I could probably drink at a country club and sign your name to that check. Yeah, I probably could.
I don't think it just has to do with being married to a musician. It's just you who you are. You have the disease of alcoholism.
Very, very acceptable. All of that, all the drugs and
drugs, sex, rock and roll. Of course, it's the
culture. So alleviate the sex. Thanks a lot. And
you see why we get along, folks. We're so opposite yet so alike.
Well, but that's because we're both alcoholics. That's what we share, and then we share a lot of other. We both have rather strange sense of humor, but
we do.
We can laugh at ourselves and others. So, I think that I wanted to fit in this crowd that I did not fit in, and I married the man, not the job, for God's sake. So, I think that it took me a long time. I mean, it took me 9 years. And because where we lived was in Marin County, where the whole hippie movement started. And trust me, I was not that. My shoes and purse always had to match. And so I didn't fit in. And I think when I was included, I wanted to do what they did. Although I didn't, I lied a great deal about it. I remember on the summer solstice, whatever the hell that is. There isn't a summer solstice in Kansas, you know.
Yes, there is.
They all went up to Mount Tamalpais and took acid and twirled around, and I went with them, but I certainly didn't take acid and I didn't twirl, and so I didn't get invited back. But you know, it's like I was dying to fit in.
Well, stop right there, because that's the crux of it. We feel like we don't belong. We feel like we're different. We feel like we're on the outside looking in. And I always felt that way. I never felt like I belonged. And then when I finally jumped in and started doing what they did, who did I hurt? Me. Do you think that they came after me after school or college or whatever to say, are you okay? No, I did my own self-damage. I did my own self-destruction until one day I decided, I don't need to self-destruct. I hurt myself. I probably lost a good 19 years of my life in one direction when I could have been going in another direction. But the beauty is you get to wake up, you get to see it, and that's all part of the healing, and that's part of the participation in your own recovery, people. You get a second chance if you want it. It's not about how much or where or why.
Yeah, but
and yet it is.
When I sat down at my first 12-step meetings at Studio 12, it took me a long time to hear my story, because I was comparing what I had done, what I had drank. It was all what I perceived, that so I could talk myself out of being an alcoholic, because I didn't drink the way they did. I didn't have my first drink and go, tell me about it. I just kept sipping them. I started drinking to match my dress. So that was, if I had a green dress on, I drank cream de menthe. I mean, that's that.
You are so funny, especially being Irish. I could just see with green hot dogs.
That's really true. I didn't wear yellow.
I believe you. From where you came from, I believe you.
Yeah. So that's when I first started drinking. But I remember my dad's very best friend, who was a wonderful guy, and he was an alcoholic. But that word was never ever used. It was that he's the life of the party. He's the first one here and the last one to leave. And my dad always drove him home. And then about when I was 15, they hadn't heard from him in a couple of days, and he was drunk and hit his head and bled to death. And my dad found him. So that still didn't. And no one said alcoholic. So it
was different in those days, though. Different generations. Well, you have to be grateful for our generation that's being more open. But back then, it was still taboo and still hush hush, and the program was just.
I'm sure your parents, Linda, when they were at the country club and places like that, they might have a drink. But
they drank a Mai Tai. No,
but nobody abused it that you knew. You've never told me about.
No, there was one person, just one friend of theirs that was alcoholic, and he was pretty embarrassing at times, and I remember him. But as far as the average social circle of my parents with their parties and activities, no, you're right. There was not anything that I witnessed.
Right, that's it, witnessed. But, I think that you, as close of a family as you were, you would have heard your mother say, "Oh, that Louise, she drank too much and made a fool of herself." And you never heard any of it.
No. I remember one time, because my father traveled a lot for his business as well, and my mom usually went with them. But there was one time that she stayed home, and I remember walking into their home. I think it was already, I don't know where I was, but I walked in, and she was alone, and she had a glass of bourbon or gin or something, and I was shocked. Because she was sitting in the den, which you remember when she broke her leg and had the stroke with the U-shaped sofa, and she was facing the window, and she had a glass, and I was shocked. I'd never seen my mother drink alone, ever. I said, "Mom, are you okay?" It scared me, and she was fine, but she was sad my dad was gone. They were so codependent that I know she felt like, what am I going to do if he's gone for 3 days? And at the same time, my mom, she didn't drink, but she was a smoker. She smoked cigarettes for 30 plus years. She took diet pills to stay super, 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 super thin, which is probably where I got a lot of my eating disorder, because I came in chubby, but it was always get thin, get thin, get thin. So it was pounded in me to get thin, and I couldn't always get thin. So she had the ism. If anybody, my dad's the workaholic. My mother had the alternative methods. So nobody's perfect. And I know my grandfather drank a lot. My mom's dad, because she used to say he had a little bottle in his coat pocket and he would come home and take out the bottle, take a sip. But at the same time, he'd pull a puppy out of the other pocket and bring home a little puppy all the time. So they had dogs and booze.
A flask and a puppy. Well, my kind of guy.
Yeah. But that man committed suicide. So the depression, who knows what we are confronting. You all people out there, we all have the skeletons in the closet. We all have the pain. We all have, oh, I know this, and she did that, and she slept with him, and he drank that. And everybody's got the story, but it doesn't matter about them, because what we've learned in this program is to stop judging them, you, with our insides. What does their outsides look like versus, well, what am I missing? And that's how it was in school or growing up. You thought they had it more together. They were smarter. They were prettier. They were richer. They were cooler. They were whatever.
Well, and Kansas was at least 10 years behind everything. I mean, and then here I am. I moved in Marin County, and I'm at this guy's house who was kind of a very renowned author, and he wanted to be a musician. And I went with Mike, which I hardly ever do, to this kind of rehearsal thing. And I opened the door and I go, oh, hi. And I thought, oh, he is so strange. And he goes, hi, is Shel. It was Shel Silverstein. And he said, is Shel home? And I went, yeah. And he goes, well, I'm Timothy Leary. And I went, yeah. I mean, he meant nothing to me other than he probably could have maybe showered. So, I had an opinion about everybody, and
walk out and turn on.
Yeah, and I look back on all of this and think, oh shit, I could have sat down and said to him, so tell me about your brain, and I missed a lot of opportunities, not because of ignorance or being snooty, or it was just, I just didn't know how to fit in. I didn't even know how to squeak in. And it took me a long time, because I was very outgoing growing up, and
well, you did the debutante thing. You came from a very high-end family. Not everybody was a debutante. Not everybody had the country club life.
More than a lot of money. It was so, my mother had such a definitive for society. And there's one thing about having a lot of money and being a good old boy, and having, a nice family and be a millionaire many times over, which we see now. But this was high society. And I didn't know anybody else, because my mother was in that genre in New York and Chicago and all of that, because she'd gone to school back in Vassar and back east. These were all her, I always call them her snotty friends. But, it's that type of thing where I learned how to be a chameleon, and that saved me for a long time, until I got into this whole other thing that I couldn't fake it till I made it, because I didn't even know how to fake it, So, and it served me. It served me in recovery too. But
let's get back to the topic for a moment. To participate in your own recovery. So you stopped, you took direction, you ended up going to meetings, you helped other people who were suffering.
I'll tell you, I got into service.
I was just getting there. You got your degree.
And that was the bottom line why I was able to stay sober.
you got, well, they always say service is its own reward. And then not only that, once you started to get your head together, then you went to school with a friend of yours and went to UCLA and got your degree. And you were trained in alcohol and drug abuse and CADAP and all of
Well,
that. And then
it's
you made it a career
well that,
to
but I
help
did.
people.
Well, intervention found me. I didn't find it, but I never intended to work in this field. I went
Oh,
to
and you think I wanted to be a psychic?
Well, no, but you know what happened with me is that anybody gave me an opportunity on Tuesdays and Thursdays and every other Saturday for 2 years to go to UCLA and hang out and get a babysitter. Count me in. I said to my friend, let's act like we're going there and then go get sushi and go to a movie. And she said, Candy, there aren't that enough movies. So,
Oh, wait, gotta interrupt. Big news, big news. A new sushi bar just opened up down the street, 2 doors down from Mazzarino's.
oh,
Riverside Drive. Yeah, just saw it yesterday. Brand new. Just thought you'd like to know. And a new breakfast joint down the street.
yeah.
Okay, commercial's over.
But you know, it's like I would have probably never admitted to myself that I was an alcoholic because I really felt like I did. I was, you know, vice president of PTA. Although when I got elected to that, I insisted on bringing a box of wine. So you know, I moved it into all of my life, but I thought it was much more social than it was, you know. I bought a box of wine because it didn't rattle in the trunk. So I found a way to do it, but I didn't look like I thought an alcoholic looked. Doesn't
No, you're
matter.
classy, well dressed. That's the image we've talked about
That's
several
the
times on the
outside.
show.
My inside sure matched
Exactly.
everybody's.
You never know what the outside is because we're comparing our insides to their outsides, and everybody looks great, whether you're on TV or a celebrity. If you're dressed to the hilt in major designer clothes, or you can be just in jeans and t-shirts, it doesn't matter. It's what you feel, it's what you think, it's what you need, it's what you desire, it's what you're obsessing on, it's what you're angry over. And
I
otherwise,
told you, you know the funny story about when I first got sober and I went to this women's meeting on Monday night, and I shared that I probably could stay sober until my daughter's wedding. And I said, you know, I'm sure I just have to drink at my daughter's wedding. And you know the woman, it was Marilyn, the big Al-Anon queen. She came up to me and she goes, oh dear, I'll go to the wedding with you. I'll support you. And I went, wedding? She's only 6. I mean, it was like, you know, and that's a true story because I thought, oh, I got to plan ahead. And then I said I'd smoke pot when I was 60 and now I'm 70. And I mean, it's like I've always had to move the bar up. Needless to say, I'm not doing any of it.
no, and she's still not married. So the longer and she's still not married. So the longer she stays single, the longer you have to stay sober.
Oh, you know, don't think she hadn't brought that up, honey. But the thing about it is with you and I is you know, I would drink at any occasion. If it was Tuesday afternoon, I didn't do the laundry. But you know, what I realize now more than ever is what could be taken away so quickly. You and I have more than one friend or acquaintance that we sat with for years and years and years.
Who complains and complains.
Did everything perfectly and drank after 22, 27, 30 years. And it didn't take long.
Yes, Misty, social excuses is part of it, but it's really a lack of wanting.
Well, I think
And a lot of people can't. Some people have a hard time surrendering, is what they say, to really give it up. There's a fear. How do I live
I
life?
also think it's a lot easier if you're a drug addict and an alcoholic. It could take 35, 40 years to hit your bottom with alcohol. I mean, you see 50-year-olds and they started drinking at 13, you know, but with drug addiction, depending on the drug, but you'd have to have a lot of money to do cocaine, and you'd end up probably broke. And if you were doing any type of opiate, that's not a social drug. So what do? Get together and all nod out? So I think you realize that you're an addict long before when I got sober, I could have told you 80 people that were drug addicts, but I didn't have those kind of labels on people back then.
No, I just use it as the party person, or she was loose, she was fun, she
loose, that's a good one.
Yeah, party.
So I think that for me to stay sober during the holidays and everything, I had a really hard time first couple of years, because that was a celebratory thing, even though I drank every day.
Oh, you felt left out, or you were feeling that you were the
I
oddball.
started doing my own thing. I started having dinners at my house and had newcomers that didn't have places to go, and started going to different places for New Year's Eve where they had marathon meetings and they weren't drinking.
And they have 24-hour day meetings all throughout the country during the holidays. People.
They start on the 20th.
Yeah, and they've got Zoom as well as in person. I remember same thing when I stopped drinking, and then I gave up sugar and flour, so I wouldn't eat matzo balls for high holiday, or I wouldn't eat sponge cake, and I wouldn't drink the Manischewitz wine. And what's wrong with you? I said, just don't do it anymore, because it didn't make me feel good. I knew what it did to me as an addicted personality, and I don't want that. And I don't have those ups and downs and mood swings that I used to, especially with the sugar. That's a killer right there. We only have a few minutes left.
You grew up in an environment that in the culture that it took a long time for there to be recognize alcoholism and drug addiction.
True.
And I don't know why, but it's just one of those things.
There's more denial in Judaism. There's denial, but the joke was I've met more Jews in AA than I've met out there. We've only got a few minutes left. So people, if you're out there, you have one quick question. Let's see it on the screen right now. We'll answer it before we sign off. And you can always reach Candy Finnegan at AOL.com. You can reach me at Dr. Linda at lindasalvin.com. And you're always very welcome, country. And we appreciate the fact that you're getting the word out. And the more and more people that we can reach, the more and more people we're doing our jobs for. And that's why we do this. That's why we do this.
Anybody who does get in a desperate situation that's new in recovery, you can go on the internet, and it's called intherooms.com. And they have meetings 24 hours a day. And if you're in Boise, Idaho, visiting your aunt, and you can call them, or go on.
It can be anywhere. It's online. It's always available.
They have a whole resource of people you can call in every city and every place in the United States.
Or you can just call the main AA organization in your local neighborhood, and they always have somebody answering the phone. And we got to let go of this right now because the producer's saying we've got 1 minute. So Candy, thank you. It went fast. So
between the two of us.
Yeah, we talk. As long as we're not boring you people, we're educating, enlightening, and still at the same time giving you some truth here. Then we're doing our job. Candy, I love you to death. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too, darling.
Everybody else, have a wonderful week. We'll be back. This is Linda Salvin and Candy Finnegan for Recovery Wednesday. Take care. God bless. And if you have a problem, let us know or go get some help. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed Recovery Wednesday. You can reach Dr. Linda at 888-509-1077 or at lindasalvin.com and Candy Finnegan at candyfinnegan@aol.com. Need a breakthrough of your own? Ready for answers or insights nobody else has? Reserve your own one-on-one in-person chat. Dr. Linda isn't just for other people. Dr. Linda gets results for you. And it's easy. Contact details are on screen now. Just click on lindasalvin.com or call toll-free 888-509-1077. That's lindasalvin.com or toll-free at 888-509-1077.